Hey there, folks. Ian here, and yeah, this might be an episode of the show. It might not be. You'll see from the title, I suppose. Well, I don't know. Bit of stream of consciousness here, which is probably just for patrons. Not entirely sure what Mark and Becky are doing yet in terms of recording this week. So you've got me. Talking about not as much LFF as I thought. A little bit of a family thing, everybody's alright, but, and also, if I'm being absolutely honest, I was fucking knackered anyway, but I curtailed my LFF trip and didn't get to Belfast. That was, I suppose, the key one that I wasn't able to see. But this is part one of what will be two parts of LFF coverage over Film Bastards. So next time around, I'll be talking about some pretty heavy hitters, actually. Gonna go see Titan, or Titan, or however you pronounce it, at Chapter in Cardiff on Saturday night, and then I'm doing a double bill of Apachat Pongwea Sophakel's Memoria, which people are saying the ending's wild, and it's like, but is that just like film Twitter being film Twitter? We will see. And the Tragedy of Macbeth. So we've got some big ones coming up. But for now, we actually, to be honest, a pretty decent selection to kick things off. So the first film that Actually, well, no. I mean, I'll tell you what. We'll go with the film that premiered LFF, but not the first film, the LFF film I actually watched. The Harder They Fall, which is coming out for what I imagine will be a pretty limited theatrical run the end of the month in the UK as well as the US, I believe, and then hitting on Netflix a week later. So I think like maybe the first Friday of November. I want to say, yeah, that sounds right. Friday the 5th, I think that is. So this is the black western with almost an all-black cast. Really, I mean, there's white faces every now and then, but really white people are only somewhat prominent in maybe two scenes in the entire film. So, story starts with Idris Elba visiting the childhood home of a kid who grows up to be Jonathan Majors' character. And there's some history going on between Jonathan Majors' dad and Idris Elba. Idris Elba kills the dad. Flash forward to, 20 years later, and Jonathan Majors is a... Not exactly an outlaw, like he's almost like an avenging angel, but he's not really concentrating on Idris Elba's character, because he's safely locked away. However, there is a jailbreak. Regina King leads a jailbreak of Idris Elba, along with Lakeith Stanfield, and Jonathan Majors gets wind of it and rounds up his guys to basically go kill him and get revenge. So, I mean, kind of a standard Western plot there, but with the kind of like the added style that you would imagine that kind of like that cast would bring to it. And I mean, if there's anything to say for The Harder They Fall, it's that it is an incredibly stylish piece of work. It does things. It is playful stuff with the camera. There's some very, very cool shots. I mean, there's a shot in the jailbreak of Idris Elba's character where he's kind of running through like a hail of bullets being exchanged to the left and right of him. Well, he's not even running, actually. He's doing the exact opposite of running. He's slow motion walking. And it's, suspension of disbelief through the roof and whatnot, but it looks fucking cool. And there are moments in this film that are fucking cool. However, that's Well, I actually no. I think I'm being uncharitable. I think some of the performances are pretty strong as well, but there are even some caveats there. I mean, Regina King is fucking great in her role. She's almost kind of the brains behind the whole operation, but it's like she's also somewhat indebted to Elba's character. And I don't know. It felt like I maybe needed a little bit more just material there for her to really cement. Like, is she a partner? Is she a strong girlfriend, but still like a girlfriend as opposed to a partner? But she's very, very good in it, and she gets a good fight scene with Zazie Beetz late on as well. Lakeith Stanfield, quite a small role. It was interesting. I was talking to a contributor to the show, Brad Porter, yesterday, while in a queue, which was a defining experience of LFF. About Lakeith Stanfield in The Heart of Lethal, and I'm ever so sorry. I'm recording this the day after I got back, and I'm still ever so slightly sleep deprived. So apologies. I think I'm coming down with a cold as well. So, but yeah, Lakeith and Brad was saying how much he enjoyed Lakeith Stanfield's performance, and I did as well. But there just wasn't really enough of it, and this was shot in the time of COVID, and I ever so slightly wondered if Lakeith Stanfield was offered this in normal times, whether he would have actually done it, because the role is pretty small, but it is quite notable. He is one of the most memorable characters in the entire film. He's this guy Cherokee Bill who kind of protests to like not necessarily want to kill people, but when he does, he's like ruthlessly efficient, and he really does stand out. As does Idris Elba. Idris Elba is in it, not as much as he should be though. There's some stuff that happens later on, which you think, I wish that there was more Elba earlier on for that to impact in the way that you know it is wanting to impact. And considering the film is already over long at 2.25 hours, like straight up over long, it feels like its focus is in the wrong place. I mean, there is there was half an hour of red carpet stuff before the partner screening at Chapter. Quick fucking sidebar. Maybe do interviews with the cast and crew about how much they love the film after you've seen the film and decided if you like it yourself. I will be absolutely honest. I would have got the fuck out of there. I liked the film, but I didn't necessarily need to hear about that, and it made a late night even later. But yeah, just there's not enough meat there to really give it the wallop. But he is good. RJ Kyler is decent as like this young buck guy who wants to be the fastest gun in the West. Delroy Lindo is as solid as he ever is. Zazie Beetz, who I mentioned earlier on, really good fun as Jonathan Majors' love interest. I will say a standout, Danielle Deadweiler as this character Cuffy. She's fucking great, and I wish we were following her more. Just really personable, really warm, and you just kind of like will her to succeed. Which brings me to Jonathan Majors, who is an actor I like, but this is a lead film role for him, and he is absolutely swamped by the sheer charisma of everyone around him. And he can be charismatic, but it doesn't work. He doesn't work. He's a very one note character, and I was not feeling being around, like watching him and being in his world all that much. And as I said earlier, what kind of doesn't happen there, help there is the fact that the film is overlong. And it's got this second act where essentially 20 minutes of it is taken up by Idris Elba essentially getting Majors and co. To do a side quest. It is really, really annoying, but it in itself, I can see why it's there. It's a bank. It's this bank robbery in this white town. I mean, it literally says it's a white town, like as like a title card, and it's all painted white, and it. I mean, it's the old sledgehammer to crack a walnut kind of stuff, but it works, and that's funny as a one note joke, but then it goes on for 15-20 minutes, and if we could have had, and again, by the time it gets to the end of the film, there are some revelations, and you wonder what was actually going through minds when that side quest was agreed. It's very, very odd, and it feels like it's there to get laughs out of people, and it does, but it would have been better if you'd spent 20 minutes maybe like with Regina King or Idris Elba, or building Jonathan Majors' character into one that I actually wanted to follow. So yeah, I overall I thought it was all right, absolutely fine, very much style over substance. I can see why LFF wanted it. It's British black filmmakers like in the lead creative kind of like positions, which is fucking fantastic. I just wish I liked it more. It's not a disaster, and it may well play better at home. If you could maybe have a toilet break or something like that, maybe split it up a little bit, maybe it would actually work better. But for me, I was a little bit, was that it about it all by the end? But it's definitely got its moments. It's 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. It is a mild recommendation. I wish I liked it more. And some people really do, really, really seem to be liking it, and getting, good on them. So the first, I've got a little bit of a thematic Western trilogy here going on, actually, so I'll do this. So the first film, LFF film that I actually watched was Alexandre O. Philippe's new documentary, The Taking, which is basically about about cinema and media's relationship with Monument Valley, and It's rather sprawling. It starts off talking about how like the massive stone structures in Monument Valley represent what they can represent, and like the idea of these big things just wading into a landscape and basically taking it over and stretching upwards, like the Americans trying to reach for the American dream, which is I like that as a metaphor, even if it does sound a little bit wanky. But then, as it goes on, it starts kind of like giving John Ford some shit for his treatment of the indigenous peoples, but also spends an awful lot of time talking about how effective his filmmaking was. It's weirdly balanced there, just in terms of there is criticism, but there's also an awful lot of effusive praise, and I wasn't exactly entirely sure what Philippe's opinion was, unless he was just letting people rattle off their viewpoints. And even though what was interesting was you never get any context for who the people speaking are. You only get that at the end, so it feels weirdly democratic in that way, where you're not necessarily thinking, oh, this person, their background is this, so I, due to my own unconscious bias, I'm gonna take them more seriously than this person whose background is this. And that's interesting. I mean, I did recognise Christopher Frayling's voice from kind of like DVD commentaries back in the day. But other folks, no idea who they were. And it does lend it this fun kind of democratic angle where you're almost like just taking things on with a bit less bias. And I thought that was an interesting creative touch. But then as it goes on, it then turns into quite this interesting theory about how the filming of culturally important places and structures, and kind of corrupting them with things that you don't expect, can corrupt your vision of what they are, and it ends with linking that to the. I mean, I don't know. If you don't want to be spoiled for a documentary, obviously skip on. But I kind of wonder if it would actually help to know this. But it ends with talking about how the image of the White House could be corrupted by the imagery of the January 2021 insurrections, insurrection even, or an insurrection attempt, thankfully, and. I don't know. It's just like it's this film that for the first hour, it's only about 75 minutes long, and for the first hour, 65 minutes, it's about like westerns and how the power of Monument Valley is basically diluted every time you get like you had people like filming it with great reverence, like John Ford and like his kind of peers did, and now you've just got people taking pictures of themselves. And God, there was one where it was like this group were like smiling around this really fucking inappropriate thing. I can't remember what it was now. And they obviously just didn't know the context. I mean, either that or fucking hell, those are some interesting people. But the way that, this, again, it sounds wanky, but that people saying like, don't film gigs, you need to live in the moment. And it's, I get that though, because if you're not like living in the moment and you're not actually thinking about the situation in which you're in, and you're just smiling and taking a photo and saying, yeah, I went here, how much are you actually thinking about it, and how times a million people, how that could actually have an effect on the public consciousness view of a place. It's some really interesting stuff, but like I say, a bit sprawling. And, I mean, content packed for 75 minutes, but there was a little bit of a lack of focus there. And, like, the John Ford stuff, it's talking about him, and then it kind of diverts away for, like, 5 minutes or so, and then comes back to him, and I don't know, it didn't quite click all the way, but I thought it was really fucking interesting throughout. Like, it's a really interesting piece of work, and God, I mean, like if you're a film or a media studies student, it's the kind of thing that's probably actually essential viewing. If not, your mileage is probably going to vary, ticking down, I'd say. But if you're listening to this, then I'd say it's it is probably worth a punt. Okay. So, the third and last in my thematic Western trilogy is Jane Campion's new film, The Power of the Dog, one of the most hotly buzzed about films of the season. Theatrical release in November, Netflix early December. So it's an adaptation of a book, Jane Campion's first film in, I think, about 10 years. Stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Jesse Plemons, Kirsten Dunst, Cody Smith-McPhee, and Thomasin McKenzie as what's Thomasin McKenzie doing, playing a maid for a couple of scenes when she's Thomasin McKenzie and she just led in Edgar Wright's new one. That's weird. It is odd. But I don't know, good for her. She's working with some interesting fucking directors early on for her career, isn't she? Jesus wept. So, story is Benedict Cumberbatch and Jesse Plemons are kind of like ranchers, essentially. Jesse Plemons is kind of like smartly dressed, respectful. Benedict Cumberbatch, a bit of an arsehole. They go for dinner at a restaurant, which is... And well, they're served by... I don't think they run it, but they're served by... Actually, no, maybe they do. But yeah, Kirsten Dunst and Cody Smith-McPhee. Jesse Plemons falls for Kirsten Dunst. They get married. Benedict Cumberbatch is not happy about it. And Cody Smith-McPhee plays her son, who is, coded gay. And Benedict Cumberbatch doesn't like him. So... yeah, I liked it, actually. I was half going like, oh, well, everybody seems to be fucking loving this, and is it just going to be austere and boring and blah, blah, blah? And no, it's not. It won't be in my top 10 films of the year if I'm absolutely honest, but... Again, like The Harder They Fall, it's one that I could see if people are connecting with it, absolutely fair enough. It is a strong film. It's like a good, strong 4 out of 5 for me. But I will just go through what I wasn't so keen on. There's a couple of narrative beats in it that I don't think the film did very well in connecting the dots. There is a change in the relationship between Benedict Cumberbatch and Cody Smith-McPhee, which was... Where the fuck did that come from? From Cumberbatch's kind of like side. Came out of absolutely nowhere. Did not get it. Also, I don't think that Cumberbatch's hate for Dunst is... it's well played out in terms of the acting, but again... Never quite get a sense why he is as... shitty to her. Like Cody Smith-McPhee, I kind of get it because of Men at that time. Dunst, not so much. And there's like Dunst's character's arc is, I don't know, a little disappointing, if I'm honest. And there is a kind of like an emotional moment at the end with Cumberbatch saying some stuff about her where it's like, I get where this is coming from, but I don't get why the film is necessarily having this person doing this emotional beat. Like, it just, there were these things that just didn't quite work for me there. But I don't think Cumberbatch is going to win an Oscar this season because Will Smith is in a film, in a performance that people seem to like, and he is going to be a consensus choice who will also be box office for the Oscars. But I think King Richard sight unseen, I think Benedict Cumberbatch would actually be quite a worthy winner here. I've never necessarily been in love with his performances, but he is very, very good here. Very good. His character has got some shit in his basement, but it's not necessarily stuff that's ever... You don't get like a massive emotional cathartic scene with him. It's all quite understated, and he is threatening as fuck. Him doing some whistling is just really fucking unsettling. Which I mean, it's well handled. It's and I mean, like, to be fair, Campion's got him playing things relatively subdued as well. But yeah, there is some unsaid stuff here that he is playing with his eyes, which is very, very well done. Jesse Plemons is kind of, I don't know, like, it's kind of, Jesse Plemons has got like a couple of different flavours, and this is just one of them, and he's alright. And I mean, Dunst has been getting a bit of buzz, and I think that's maybe because she's Kirsten Dunst, and people think it might be time for her to come back and get some recognition, rather than the character itself. The character is, there's some really unsurprising stuff that a character goes through, and it's like, oh, we're just doing this, are we? All right, then, fine. And Cody Smith-McPhee. I don't want to spoil things, but yeah, that feels it feels very much like the kind of role that you've been kind of willing Cody Smith McPhee to take on for a while, and he does, and he's good, and it's just like, yeah, all right, fine, you've done that now, cool. I'd be worried about him getting typecast after this fucking performance. I tell you what. And you know, you could almost see a sequel that would like focus on him and just be like one of the darkest fucking things you've ever seen. But yeah, there you go. Also, the film looks great. Just from a technical point of view, there's some low light cinematography here, where when combined with digital, led to some, I don't know. There's some kind of like going over landscapes, which was a little bit juddery and didn't quite feel like it had the epic sweep that Campion was going for there. But I mean, like, if anybody else actually fucking noticed that, I'd be surprised. It's me being a fucking arsehole. To be fair, one of the best scenes I've seen this year, though, involving landscape and someone seeing something and the other person's reaction to it is fucking brilliant. And I kind of wish actually came earlier in the film, because that probably would have sorted out one of my problems I had earlier on. But yeah, now I'm thinking about it. But yeah, good scene. Yeah, I mean, it Cumberbatch just absolutely fucking smashes it in that lead role. I think everybody else is solid. I mean, Dunstan Clemens are basically kind of just doing what they're asked to do. If I'm honest, I know everybody fucking loves them, and I mean, like, Plemons has done some fucking fantastic shit. I mean, you know, I don't talk about TV that much, but his role in Breaking Bad is one of the most sit up and take notice things you'll see in years. But now it kind of feels like he's settled into being doughy and maybe outwardly dopey, and then maybe being dopey or not being dopey, and that's fine. Yeah, but it is the Cumberbatch show, but not in a way that it necessarily feels like he's wanting to steal things. It's just good acting and fair fucking play to him. So yeah, Power of the Dog. I liked it quite a bit. But my two favourite films so far. So the last one that I watched before I had to leave London, but I left on a high, Asghar Farhadi's new film, A Hero. So I was umming and ahhing about watching this. I didn't know anything about it before I went in, because I'm a bad cinephile. Jordan was very, you should come see A Hero. And again, I kind of alluded to it earlier on, but I mean, it'll probably, if I'm being honest, it'll probably be the last time I physically attend LFF in London. After I got the press pass, the Chapter Cardiff announced that they were doing a bunch of screenings. Press pass cost £50. Chapter, the tickets are £6. So I'm seeing, I saw The Harder They Fall, I'm seeing Titan, Tragedy of Macbeth, and Memoria, and that'll be £24. You know, so like, for the price of the press pass, I could have seen 8 films like in Cardiff. And also just the queuing situation. So this has been a big thing on Twitter. But yeah, I mean, I got in the queue. Oh fuck, I forgot a film. Jesus Christ. So I'll go to that in a second, actually. So after a screening of another film, I got back to my hotel at midnight. I was up again at 6 to get in a queue for The Power of the Dog. Got in the queue at 7:15, and it was already over 100 people deep. And when you fill in the application for LFF, you have to kind of indicate what days you're actually planning on being in London for, and I was assuming that's so they can plan for things. But there has been tell of, I think, Spencer, people were being turned away last week. They just didn't have enough capacity. And it does feel like if you're paying £50, you know, and it is first world problems. Oh, I've got to queue up, blah, blah, blah. But it does just feel it didn't necessarily ever feel that bad, or like the worry of am I going to get a seat before. That was new. And just the fact that if I'm speaking honestly, if I knew Chapter were doing those screenings, I wouldn't have actually bothered getting the press pass. I would have probably done a combination of maybe getting the digital festival pass and watching a few things and going to see some stuff at Chapter. You know, I didn't see the Souvenir Part 2 because like schedule didn't align, because like I'm not going to fuck off to the cinema for days on end, then go to London because I got a family. But I probably would have gone to see the Souvenir Part 2 on Friday night. And yeah, anyway, like I say, it's first world problems, but yeah, I'm too old to do this now, to be honest. But like literally, we walked out of The Power of the Dog and started queuing for a Hero, and there were like an hour before it started, and there were already people in front of us. It's silly. It was silly. But anyway, yeah, I'll talk about Hero and then swing back around to the other film. So, yeah, really, really stressful piece of work this was. So, basically, story is a man is on kind of like day release from prison. His girlfriend, I wasn't too sure on this. I think she finds a bag, which has got some gold coins in. And the reason why he's in prison is because he essentially owed a guy some money and he didn't pay it off. And he's thinking with these gold coins, he can essentially pay that off. And then I think the inference is then he'll be allowed to at least go on leave because the creditor's like, yeah, okay, I've been paid. But he then decides, well, actually, if I hand it in, then maybe I'll be rewarded. And he basically kind of like advertises, I've got this bag, whose is it? Somebody claims it, and then he becomes a bit of a local hero. He gets special leave from prison. A charity start raising money for him to basically pay off the creditor. And then people start kind of like morally attacking the creditor for like, look, he did a nice thing, and you're not being very chill. You're not kind of like, why don't you just let off the debt? And it's like, well, I was being nice when I lent him money to get out of a serious jam, and it's but the guy kind of starts making up these kind of lies, and then they snowball, and then there's something that happens in the film, and then it further snowballs from there. And it's this story of a guy drowning in a moral mess, which was kind of his own making, but also like bad luck is involved. And like I say, very stressful, gripping. Yeah, I mean, and the lead performance. I need to get this gentleman's name. He is fucking brilliant. Amir Jadidi as Rahim. He, through the film, it kind of feels like he's just like skating by on generally being a bit affable, and people kind of like liking him because he's got a nice smiley face. And the kind of the moral ambiguity of exactly what is he up to is really well played. And it's like I say, it part of it is of his own choosing, but also in the end of the day, he could have, he could have sold these coins, and there's a point in it where, like, early on, where it's like they're not worth as much as he thought they were, and he kind of makes a decision off the back of that. But at the same time, he did a good thing, but for the wrong reasons, and sometimes people do that though, and then fate just kind of gets in the way, and it feels almost like fucking like God ordained, like the things that happen, and it's like a test of him. And by the end, you've had this like kind of like really just rich meal of a film, which, I mean, like we were actually all pretty subdued after it. It's powerful stuff. Like really, very much worth a watch. One of my favourite things I've seen this year, actually, I'll say. I don't know what kind of a release it's going to get, but it's well worth checking out whenever you can. So that's a hero. So yeah, the film that I somehow forgot to talk about. This is George Clooney's new directorial effort, starring Ben Affleck, The Tender Bar, which apparently Clooney was sitting 2 rows behind us and I didn't notice, and Lauren McGrath told me. So that was cool. But yeah, The Tender Bar. It's interesting. Some people have been like complaining about the sound in the Royal Festival Hall, and I know Matthew Turner, who's a critic I know, literally said he wasn't even going to post a thing on Letterboxd about it because he can't give it a fair shake because he couldn't hear it, and which I thought was interesting. I mean, like, the accents are strong, but the acoustics were a little shaky as well. Yeah. So yeah, this adaptation of a memoir about a guy who basically came from a family that never really seemed to achieve anything, and like they all just eventually come back and live with their grandfather, played by Christopher Lloyd, but he wants to achieve. He's helped out by his uncle, played by Ben Affleck, who is like a landlord, a pub landlord who basically extols wisdom while pouring drinks, essentially. It is probably ever so slight damning with faint praise, but this is probably Clooney's best film in 15 years, but it's because he's made some like average and just plain stinker films. And it's him going very bare bones, just telling a story with few flourishes, but letting the actors do their things. Ty Simpkins, who is actually the lead of this film, you'd think it was Ben Affleck going in, but no. But Ty Simpkins is actually really good. I've never particularly cottoned on to him before, but I liked him. He actually gets you over maybe some of the narrative bumps that there are. He kind of becomes a little bit obsessed with a girl and is doing a lot of stuff in the aim of winning her back, and it's just a bit why you don't get enough of them actually together during the good times to make that when they do break up and start kind of like shagging on the side and whatnot. I don't quite get that connection there, but he's good. It feels precision tooled for Ben Affleck to get a best supporting actor Oscar. It feels like there are probably half a dozen moments that could be an Oscar clip, and it's the whole thing where he is just like the nice kind of drunk uncle who doesn't really have much of a backstory other than he's a nice drunk uncle, but he says a lot of stuff that he gives a lot of like life lessons. Like he literally says, like, I'm going to give you a lesson in man sciences and things like that. He's like very earthy, but he's fun, and it reminds you of Ben Affleck being Ben Affleck. And I mean, Clooney said before the screening that it's like he wanted to give Ben Affleck a chance to kind of like do his thing, because he hasn't really had many opportunities to be in like quality cinema lately, which was quite fun because people started laughing, and then Clooney was like, hey, I was Batman as well, and it's like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is a good performance, but it's one of those ones where it'd be nice to give Affleck an Oscar for this, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was something else that was like, oh yeah, no, do you know what, that person should probably have it instead. I mean, I would be annoyed if, say, Jesse Plemons got an Oscar over him for Power of the Dog, but yeah, I mean, like, to be fair, it's like the only category where Oscar is even going to be sniffing around the Tender Bar. It's a film which is warm-hearted and gentle. It's a perfectly pleasant experience watching it, and that's about it. It is solid. It is solid. Never does anything to particularly blow you away, but it's solid, and I'd like to see more of that from Clooney. So yeah, that's The Tender Bar on Amazon in January, I believe. And my favourite film of those that I've seen at LFF so far this year is Flea. So this has been getting some buzz, where it could be nominated for Best Documentary, Best International Feature, and Best Animated Feature, and I see that happening. Is it going to win all three? Maybe / probably not, but I could see that happening, and that would be bloody notable. So this is a Curzon release. They do all their stuff on Curzon Home Cinema as well as theatrical, I believe, at this point. So when it does come out, you'll be able to you'll be able to watch it at home. Would be interesting to watch it in a cinema, but yeah. So basically, this is directed by Jonas Poe Rasmussen and is about a gentleman, Amin Nawabi, who grows up with his family in Afghanistan. His father is taken away by the military and disappears. They never know what happened to him, and they look to flee Afghanistan. They do, but what is the country that takes them in? Russia. Then they look to flee Russia. In all this as well, Amin kind of realises that he's gay through a way which I won't spoil, but is fucking brilliant. And it feels like such a a realisation to have when you're a kid, or at least growing up. So it tells this story, but then it also is happening in this time where Amin is looking to move somewhere with his boyfriend, Casper. Casper is looking to go and buy a home in the country for them to settle down, and Amin is standoffish about it, and there is a sense in him that he can't settle down anywhere because he's never been able to all his life, and it plays with that very well. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty remarkable on a number of levels. First off, the whole animated nature, really, it's not just like a unique selling point for the film. It leads to some real evocative stuff. First off, there's a lovely transition pretty early on where Amin's going into his first flashback, and the way that's animated, and a Take on Me starts playing in the background. That it's lovely, but then there's also animation at a time which kind of is chilling. Some of the experiences that Amin has with kind of escaping, it's told with this kind of more impressionistic kind of style where it almost feels like it's just a few brush strokes telling a story against a dark canvas, and it's very evocative. And again, like I was saying earlier, that's the kind of stuff that feels like if you saw that in a big screen, that would be with the lights off, that would be a hell of an experience. But as well as that, it's interesting for the documentary filmmaker kind of inserts himself into it in some ways, just in terms of there's some kind of revelations that not even he was aware of when he started filming him and talking to him, which it's really quite staggering, and it kind of feels like that might actually have repercussions after the film, and I hope they don't, but yeah, which again, just from a narrative point of view, really are that's a genuine twist, but it doesn't feel exploitative because it is naturally coming out. And yeah, it's like the animation styles are really interesting. Like the present day stuff is told in this kind of like straight way, like where the locations are kind of almost painted to be real, and they're or drawn to be real, and they're really interesting. And the flashbacks do take on these more kind of like surreal looks, either in kind of like bright, vivid ways or these darker ways. And it's a very, very fully formed story of this man and the cinematic like not adventures, that's a stupid word, the cinematic journey that he has in escaping these places, but then also just telling the story of a guy who, through the making of this documentary, Amin seems to have some kind of like emotional revelations about himself, and it actually feels like the making of this documentary has changed his view on life and how he is in the future, which is a very, very powerful thing. So yeah. I mean, I don't want to say too much more there, but that's Flea. One of the best films I will see this year. I think it's fair to say I think A Hero is pretty much at that level for me as well. And yeah, I don't think I've really seen any duds. I mean, like, I was quite harsh on The Harder They Fall, but it's because that's a film that feels like it should have been better. But hey, it is what it is. So there you go. That's 45 minutes or so on LFF. Yeah, quite an experience so far. Like I say, there'll be more next week. Some heavy hitters next week. And yeah, I'm going to post this up for patrons now. And if this goes up on the regular feed as well, then you'll know that Mark and Bex didn't record anything. And that's absolutely fine because those two have been busy. But yeah, that's LFF. And thanks very much, folks. And speak to you next week. Cheers. Bye.